Right. Okay, so we know what are these cultists like doing, what are they wearing, what kind of chant that they're reciting. Okay, what do we do now? Knowing all this. I slide out to where Tharra securely keeping watch. You descend the trunk carefully, resin sticky fingers gripping the rough bark until your boots meet the soft moss below. The pine needles muffle your landing, and the cold mist folds in again around you. Tharra's eyes search yours immediately. She whispers. The muted glow still pulses faintly through the trees ahead. The chant's strange cadence winding steadily through the damp air. Cultists doing some kind of rite. Seriously. Tharra's mouth tightens, her eyes flicking toward the glow. Four of them, that close to the caves. This was the idea. She checks the tension on her bowstring, voice dropping even lower. If they're mid-right, we've got two choices. Break it before they finish, or shadow them and see what they bring through. Either way, I have to move quiet, quick. So I try to recall the view from above to see if I can make out which direction the cultists came from. From your memory of the scene, the cultists' positions in the clearing didn't show obvious trails or tracks leading in, but the orientation of their bodies and the way the mist drifted hinted they might have entered from the east-northeast side of the clearing. The moss and pine needle cover made it hard to see any distinct footprints, yet the faintest scuffing of disturbed ground, visible when the crystal glow pulsed, was in that direction. If they came that way, it could mean there's another approach into the ritual site besides the north trail you and Tharra used. There's no southern route from where they came from. That way. Tharra nods sharply and gestures for you to follow. Keeping low, she moves through the pines in a wide arc, skirting the edge of the glow. The chanting remains steady, the mist swallowing your footfalls. Every so often, she freezes to scan the trees ahead before signaling you on. After several minutes, the forest floor changes. Less moss, more packed earth, and faint scuff where needles have been disturbed. You spot a thin gap in the tree line leading east-northeast, just wide enough for two people to walk abreast. The air here feels subtly warm, carrying a faint metallic tang. I look around to scan if there's any belongings, some kind of camp that these cultists use to prepare the rites. Perception check. Oh my god, so many tools. So many tools. I have to count the rows. It's unbelievable. With a total of 5, you scan the gap in its edges but find nothing obvious. The ground's disturbance is subtle, mostly the scattering of pine needles, and no dropped gear, tools, or clothing stand out. Tharra crouches nearby, brushing her fingers lightly over the earth. She gives a small shake of her head, confirming the same. If they left anything, it's farther along this path, she murmurs. What do you think? Can we take on the fall from ourselves? Tharra's eyes narrow, her voice barely above her breath. 4 against 2 is a gamble. If they're just robbed creatures, maybe. But if that's the lights feeding them straight, it could get ugly fast. She glances toward the faint glow in the mist. If we strike, it surprising precision. Take 2 before they even draw us near. If you would rather play it safely, which wait for them to split. I see. I say one of us follow the trail, one of us stay to keep watch. Tharra thinks for a moment, eyes narrowing in the mist. It's a sound plan, but if we split, we lose the ability to cover each other. If something changes here, while you're gone, or you run into trouble on the trail, there's no quick way to regroup. She glances toward the glow, then back at the faint track leading away. If we do it, I'll hold this spot. I can shadow them from here if they move, and you can follow the path. But you'll be on your own until you get back. Maybe I go follow the train fully. 10 minutes. And be back after 15. Tharra nods once, her expression set. 15 minutes, no longer. If you're not back by then, I'll soon run into trouble and make my move. She shifts her stance, planning herself where she can watch both the glow ahead and the narrow path leading away. Keep low, keep quiet, and watch for anything that feels wrong before it looks wrong. I nod and head out nimbly. The forest swallows you in a damp shadow as you slip along the faint trail. The packed earth is firm underfoot, with only the occasional scatter of pine needles betraying the cultist's passage. 10 paces in, the metallic tang in the air sharpens, mingled now with a faint smell of cold stone, like the air inside a cavern. The mist thins slightly here, revealing narrow tree trunks crowded together, forcing you into a careful view. After a few minutes, you spot subtle signs of activity. A patch of disturbed moss near a root, a broken twig hanging by a thread, and faint scuff where boot heel must dug in. Ahead, the path bends east and dips lightly, disappearing into a darker stand of pines. Sense of old stone intensifies your glint, pulsing glow. Cultists but steadier, dim reflection, moonlight on wet rock. Trail narrows toward what looks like mouth of a low, overhung opening between two massive roots, almost hidden by hanging moss. I stay completely still to see if there's any movement around. You stand motionless, letting the forest settle around you. The warmth in the air seems to dull even the distant sounds of the woods. No bird calls, no rustle of small animals in the undergrowth. After several long breaths, you catch it, a faint scrape like leather brushing against stone, coming from the dark opening ahead. It's slow, irregular, as if someone or something is shifting its weight inside. Then silence again, broken only by a single soft drop of water hitting rock. So I carefully approach the opening. Each step forward sinks you deeper into the warm, damp air pulling around the opening. Hanging moss brushes lightly against your shoulders, and the scent of wet earth and stone grows stronger. The mouth of the overhang is only chest high, forcing you to stoop or crawl if you want to enter. And beyond it, the dim light glints faintly of something slick and uneven, maybe wet stone. That faint leather on stone scrape comes again from inside, a little clearer now, followed by a slow, almost deliberate exhale. So I look around to see if there's any way to peer inside. You'd need to get low and shift the hanging moss aside to see. But from here, there are two options. The first one is to have a quick glance by gently part the moss just enough to catch a brief look. Or you spread the moss wider and lean in for a better view. You probably want a stealth check if you go to the fuller look, especially this close. So I'm gonna back out carefully and head back to Tharra. We know that there are things here. It's probably more important to deal with the cultists first. You step back slowly, careful not to disturb the moss or snap any twigs underfoot. The warm, damp air fades as you retreat into a cooler forest. Scrape and exhale from within, swallowed by distance. Retracing the faint scuff and disturbed moss, you move quickly but quietly until the pale mist of the clearing with a chanting glow seeps back into view. Tharra spots you immediately, her bow still in hand. "Well," she whispers, "there's a cave nearby, and there's someone inside. But I think we should take care of those four first." Tharra's eyes narrow, and she gives a short, sharp nod. "Agreed. If the rite finishes, whatever's in that cave may not matter, or may matter a lot." She adjusts her stance, gaze fixed toward the glow in the clearing. "Take them fast and quiet. You pick two, I pick two. Drop them before they draw breath. Once they're down, deal with the rest." Her fingers brush the fleeting of an arrow, her voice a whisper. "Just say the word." So as I ready my bow, I turn to Tharra and tell her to focus our arrows on one of the four and try to take him down as quickly as possible from distance. Tharra's mouth curls into a thin, approving smile. "Good. One target, two arrows. Don't give them a chance to shout." She adjusts her stance so she can draw cleanly, eyes narrowing toward the dim shapes through the mist. "We aim for the one nearest the crystal. On my mark, we loosen together." She breathes in slowly, drawing an arrow and setting it to the string, her shoulders settling into the stillness of a hunter. "Ready?" Tharra gives a single sharp nod, drawing her bowstring back until it's taut. 3, 2, 1. From your vantage at the edge of the clearing, you and Tharra are roughly 50 feet from the cultists, far enough to say obscured in the mist, but well within range for a clean bow shot. The glow from the crystal paints the nearest figure in dim, pulsing light, just enough to mark his silhouette against the gloom. Tharra is hidden in the mist outside the immediate awareness, and taking time to aim qualifies for advantage on the attack rolls for this first volley, as long as you don't give yourselves away before shooting. The cultist will only get a reaction after the first shot's laid. Her voice barely a breath in the cold air as both of you let fly. Go ahead and roll your longbow attack with advantage against the cultist nearest the crystal. Tharra will lose at the same target the instant you do. Advantage! Attack roll! Finally. Oh my god, it's 3. Advantage. That's better. 16 plus 6, right? You score a solid hit. Tharra loses the same heartbeat, her arrow hissing through the mist to strike alongside yours. Both shafts thud into the cultist's chest almost in unison. Roll your damage, and I'll roll Tharra's to see if the combined volley drops him before he can make a sound. His as well, striking into the same cultist. Now just the no rolls to drop hit instantly. So what? D8. Okay. Seven damage. Plus 4 piercing. So I vaguely see the silhouette of the cultist from within the mist, but still I manage to release, and the arrow pierces through his chest, and the pointy bits of the arrow came out the other side. Your arrow bites deep, sinking through cloth and flesh. Tharra's shot hits almost the same spot. The combined strike is brutal. The cultist staggers, a strangled gasp escaping before he collapses backward against a stone slab. The chanting falters for a heartbeat as the other three turns toward him, confusion flickering before alarm sets in. They haven't yet spotted your exact position in the mist, but you've lost the element of full surprise. That easily. Okay, 20 damage. Single instance. You have to drop him outright before he can cry out. He dies at the base of the stone slab, his blood soaking into the moss. The three is still alive, but the chain is broken and confusion is turning fast into alarm. They haven't pinpointed your position yet, but you only have moments before they react. So I ready another arrow and point it at the next target. Tharra's already drawing the next arrow sings you, eyes narrowing through the mist. The remaining cultists are turning fully toward the fallen body now. You've still got distance and concealment on your side, but the window is closing fast. Go ahead and roll your next longbow attack. No advantage this time. They're alerted, though still unsure exactly where you are. Lose the same target you choose. Tharra draws in unison with you, the string creaking under the pole. 3, 2, 1. Both bowstrings snap forward. Roll your longbow attack against the cultist on the right. Advantage this time was lose the same target. Oh, fuck. Okay. Your arrow finds its mark, striking the right-hand cultist solidly. Tharra's shot follows a heartbeat later. Her arrow slams into his side with equal precision. Roll your damage. Clean! Roll proficiency, so you can drop him before to react. 20 damage is not easy. 3. Your arrow punches into the cultist's chest for 7 piercing damage. Tharra's shot follows immediately, driving into his side from another 8 piercing damage. The combined 15 damage staggers him, blood blooming across his robe, but he is still on his feet, swaying and clutching at the shaft in his ribs. The 2 uninjured cultists are now scanning the mist more sharply, their hands starting to move toward their belts, but seconds before they either scatter or charge. So, I yelled out as loud as possible, so that it's harder for the cultists to know where my voice is coming from. Are you all doing here in this sacred area? Your voice tears through the mist, sharp and carrying, the words bouncing and scattering between the trees. The cultists flinch at the sudden shout, their heads jerking toward different angles of the forest as they try to pin down the source. The injured one stumbles back a step, still clutching his side. One of the uninjured cultists calls out in a harsh, clipped tongue, the syllables sharp and urgent. They bunch together instinctively, putting the stone slab and crystal at their backs, scanning the tree line with clear unease. Tharra leans toward you, her voice barely a thread of sound. But as the heartbeat, maybe 2. What's next? Talk now, before more arrows come your way. Your shout booms across the clearing, bouncing in the mist so the sound feels like it comes from multiple directions at once. The cultists freeze, exchanging uneasy glances. The injured one hunches further, blood dripping into the moss. One of the uninjured cultists raises an open hand toward the trees, voice shaky but trying to sound firm.
Leave us! This ride is not for you! The seer will have her due.
Tharra's grip on her bow tightens, eyes locked on the speaker. They rattle. One push and they'll break. Confusions. Right now, the confusion split tension mean they're not actively defending against attack. It advantage when Nick shot only this immediate moment before either flee, cast, or close the distance. After that, they'll be fully on guard and the advantage will be gone. Next to the wounded one. Target the legs. You count. Tharra nods immediately, drawing her string back in perfect sync with yours. 3, 2, 1. Phew! Both of you lose at the same instant, your arrows hissing through the mist toward the legs of the cultist standing next to the wounded one. The shark be firing alongside you.
Slaughter attack. Oh! Yes! A tiny.
Let's go. That's a crit.
Crit time. It's a crit time.
Okay. You roll all damage twice and then add your modifiers once. Longbow means 2d8. Dex bonus is once applicable. So roll first attack and see if it lands at the same time. 4 is 8. Doesn't count. Fine. Okay. That's 4 plus 4. Not particularly crazy. Clean, devastating leg shot. Your arrow slams into the cultist's thigh, punching through muscle and sending him crashing sideways into the wounded one. The pair collapses in a tangle, their cries muffled by the mist. Tharra's arrow follows, burying itself in the target's call for another. 7 piercing damage. He's not getting up, both legs crippled and blood pooling fast. Now only 2 cultists are standing, one uninjured, one badly wounded. The ride is shattered, and panic is starting to replace the confusion. Let's go in, slowly. Have your bow ready. You and Tharra advance through the mist, bows drawn, steps measured in silence. The fallen cultists writhe weakly in the moss, their groans swallowed by the forest's heavy air. The two still standing back toward the stone slab, the crystal's pulse now erratic and dim. The uninjured one keeps glancing between you and the tree line, clearly weighing fight or flight. The wounded survivor grips a dagger but sways on its feet, blood soaring into his robe. Tharra's voice in a thin whisper beside you. We're inside 30 feet. Any closer and they'll have to commit. Charge, cast, or run. Ready to shoot the legs of the uninjured one. If you start running, you keep your bow trained, every muscle primed. The arrows point tracking the uninjured cultist's movements. Tharra mirrors your stance, shifting to cover the wounded one in case he lashes out. The uninjured cultist's eyes dart toward the trees behind him, a telltale shift in posture that screams escape. Your fingers rest against the string, ready to loose the moment he makes the first step to run. The mist curls around you both, the crystal's dim light casting uneasy shadows over the moss and stone. For now, he freezes, caught between his instinct to flee and the knowledge that an arrow will find him the moment he tries. What is this all about? The uninjured cultist's gaze flickers between you, Tharra, and the bodies on the ground. His voice trembles, but he forces the words out.
It's the Seer's will. We open the way.
The offering fits the crystal. The crystal fits her side. The wounded one spits onto the moss, teeth bared. You wouldn't understand. The forest, it would take you, same as others. Tharra keeps her bow drawn, eyes never leaving them. They're stalling, either to work up courage or buy time. Where are you from? The uninjured cultist's jaw tightens. Partners. Once. Not anymore. We go where the seer calls. Where sight reaches, we follow. The wounded one chuckles weakly, his voice a rasp. The forest gave us to her. We're hers now, not bound to soil or stone like you. Tharra's bowstring creaks as she draws it tighter, her eyes hard on them. Sounds like they're not giving us a straight answer. The cave back there, what's inside? The uninjured cultist's lips pressed into a thin line, and for a moment he says nothing. Then, almost reluctantly, a watcher, one of hers. Keep the past clear until she calls it back. The wounded one grinds through blood-stained teeth. You'll hear it before you see it, and by then, it'll be too late. Tharra glances at you sidelong, eyes hard. Whatever's in there, they think's dangerous enough to guard this place. So, what happens if the ride got finished? The uninjured cultist swallows hard, eyes flicking to the crystal as if measuring its dim, irregular pulse. The seer's vision will stretch beyond the forest. She would see you, and all that follows you. There'd be no way you could walk without her eyes. The wounded one lets out a low, painted laugh. And he sent what she sent before. The forest would come to you in pieces until you're gone. Tharra's jaw tightens, her bow never wavering. That's more rich than I'm comfortable letting her have. Drop everything you have on you right now and throw them to me. The uninjured cultist hesitates, eyes darting between you and Tharra. Slowly, he unfastens a small leather satchel from his belt and tosses it forward. It lands in the moss with a dull thud. A small knife follows, then a pouch that jingles faintly with coin. The wounded one grimaces but fumbles at his belt, pulling free a curved dagger and a small bundle wrapped in cloth before tossing them towards you. You take them. You take the girls with them. He mutters, spitting blood into the ground. Tharra's gaze stays locked on them. Want me to give them cover while you check? injured but disarmed, standing tense and watching you. Badly hurt from earlier shots, kneeling and clutching his side, also disarmed. Though the other two are dead, one from the first volley near the crystal and the other crippled and bled out after the leg shots. So I drop my backpack, take out the rope, and signal the uninjured one to have his hands out front so I can tie it. The uninjured cultist stiffens at the signal, eyes narrowing, but slowly extends his hands forward, wrists together. His breathing is steady but shallow, his gaze flicking toward the wounded one as if weighing some unspoken option. Tharra steps half a pace closer, arrow trained squarely on his chest. "Don't even think about it," she says in a voice that leaves no room for doubt. The mist swirls faintly between you. The crystals lie behind them, still pulsing in slow, uneven beats. I tie up the uninjured one, check if there's anything else on him, and tie him to the rock away from the wounded cultist. The uninjured cultist lets out a slow breath as you bind his wrist. The rope biting into the skin. A quick pat down finds nothing else hidden. No blades, charms, or pouches tucked away. You drag him toward a lichen spotted boulder on the edge of the clearing and loop the rope around it, securing him with knots that would take time and effort to undo. He tests the bindings once, then steals, glaring sidelong at the wounded cultist, but say nothing. Tharra stays in place, bow aimed toward the kneeling man. Her eyes never leave the pair. The crystals glow behind them, continues to fade in erratic poses. I grab some bandages from the backpack and patch up the wounded one, also tie him to another rock. The wounded cultist flinches slightly as you approach with the bandages, but offers no resistance. His breathing is ragged, the arrow wound in his side seeping slowly through the torn rope. You work quickly, binding the injury, tight enough to slow the bleeding without cut off circulation. Once patched, you pull his hands forward and bind them securely, checking twice for hidden objects. Nothing. You drag him to another stone outcropping on the opposite side of the clearing from the first prisoner, tying him off so neither can reach the other. Tharra shifts position to stand between them, bow still in hand, her gaze flicking to the crystal. That buys us time, but not much. If you want to stabilize, provide basic medical evidence and healing spell position. Wisdom to stabilize creature. Law says still medicine check depending on difficulty. Surgery in bad condition behind. There's a healer's kit known as raw medicine. Charge the kit to auto succeed on stabilizing. In our game, we let apply first aid narratively with our roll because the cultist wasn't making death saves and you weren't in combat. But if you want more realism and risk, we can require a medicine check for patching wounds in the field moving forward. Medicine check to see if I manage to patch him up. Good. 6. It's not good. +3, 9. Let's say I have advantage from Tharra. 11. Okay. Your field dressing is clean and tight. The bandages hold firm, slowing the bleeding and giving the wounded cultist steadier posture. Not enough to heal him, you're worsening for several hours. Long enough for questioning or transport. Watches you walk and give a curt no. Good. He won't bleed out before we decide what to do with him. Reflect how efficiently and securely you tie the knots beyond simply restraining the cultist. Better rolls mean tighter, faster knots that are harder to escape even under strain. Roll sleight hand rope walk. I'll set the DC at 15 for escape proof quality. Since these cultists are conscious, we could test the bindings. Tharra, come help me with this. Sleight of hand check. 9, 13, 9 plus 4, and 12 plus 4. Thanks to advantage. Your knots are tight, layered, and anchored in a way that would be painful to struggle against. Tharra gives a brief approving glance at the rope walker. They won't get out without skinning their wrists. Even if they try, I see it before they're halfway done. Both cultists are now firmly secured to separate rocks, unable to reach each other or their gear. The mist hangs thick, and the crystal's weak, irregular light continues to pulse behind them. So how big is this crystal? From here in the clearing, the crystal on the stone slab looks to be about the size of a large melon, roughly 10 inches tall. Faceted unevenly like it was grown rather than cut. Its surface catches the dim light in shifting glimmers, and each erratic pulse makes the facets shimmer for a heartbeat before dulling again. Even at this weakened state, it throws enough glow to outline the slab and the moss immediately around it. So I try to fit the crystal into the backpack and see if any lights come out. You lift the crystal from the slab. It's surprisingly heavy for its size, cool to the touch, with a faint hum that seems to pulse in time with its light. As soon as it leaves the stone, the glow weakens further, but doesn't die entirely. Once you slip it into your backpack and close the flap, faint threads of light still leak out through seams and fabric gaps, just enough to outline the back's edges in a dim, irregular glow. The pulses remain erratic, though slightly slower than before. Tharra eyes it warily. What I was feeding is still active. Best keep that in mind if you're carrying it around. Let's go check out that cave. Tharra nods once, glancing between the two bound cultists before stepping toward the narrow gap in the trees you scouted earlier. If the watcher's still there, we'll want to keep our steps quiet and our weapons ready. The forest swallows you again as you retrace your earlier path. The air grows warmer and heavier with each step until the moss curtain, the low overhung opening, comes into view. That faint metallic tang is sharper now, and you can hear the slow, irregular scrapes of leather on stone from within. Tharra crouches beside you, eyes on the entrance. Same sound as before, she whispers. I nod, carefully put down my backpack and head toward the opening. The moss curtain hangs still, cool and damp against the surrounding stone. As you step closer, the warm, heavy air spilling from the overhang wraps around you, carrying that metallic tang and the faint, deliberate scrape from within. The low opening forces you to crouch, the dark beyond swallowing most of the daylight. Just inside, the floor dips away slightly, slick in patches with moisture. Tharra stays a half step behind, bow lowered but arrow nocked. Her gaze locked on the shadows beyond the moss. We're pushing. We're committed. No quick retreat in a crawl space. I say nothing and slowly encroach the faint sound. You duck under the moss curtain, each movement slow to keep from brushing too much against it. Inside, the dimness swallows most of the outside light, leaving only a muted grey glow reflecting off damp stone. The tunnel is narrow, forcing you to stoop further as you move it. And the sound, the slow, irregular leather on stone scrape, is clearer now, coming from deeper ahead. The air is warm and heavy, thick with a metallic tang, and faint drops of water patter onto rocks somewhere beyond your sight. Tharra crouches just inside the entrance behind you, bow lowered from the cramped space. Her presence a steady weight at your back. You may be 10 feet in, and the sound ahead pauses, then resumes, slower this time. Stealth check with advantage here thanks to the enclosed space, the damp stone sobbing sound, and the faint background dripping masking your movement. Quietly you can move deeper toward the source without scraping, without drawing his attention. Stealth check. 6 plus 4 is a 10. Advantage. Yeah. 16. You move deeper into the tunnel with deliberate, measured steps. Your boots make almost no sound on the damp stone as your breathing blends with a steady drip in the water. The scraping grows louder, close enough now that you can hear a faint metallic undertone beneath the leather on stone sound, like something occasionally tapping metal against rock. The tunnel opens slightly ahead into a low chamber. Now, you can make out a hunched, shadowy figure near the far wall. It's back to you, moving in a slow, rhythmic shift. The dim light catches on what might be armor or carapace along its shoulders. It hasn't reacted to your presence. Armor. It's roughly 20 feet from your current position to the hunched figure in the chamber. The space between you is uneven. Patches of slick rock and shallow puddles catch faint glimmers of the reactive light. The tunnel walls hinge slightly before opening into the wider area, giving you a narrow approach that could work in your favor if you stay low and quiet. From here, you can just make out the slow shift of its weight and the faint rasp of its movement against the stone. I must be able to, right? Close enough now, and with a good roll, dim light, and details of movement should let you pick out its form, features most, and features more clearly. So how much of the figure's appearance you can make out before it notices you. 11, 14. The dim chamber yields a partial view. The hunched figure is about human-sized, but broader across the shoulders. The upper body shifting with a slow, deliberate rhythm. Its back is covered in segmented plates that catch flame reflections. Could be metal armor, but the curvature and texture suggest it might be natural, like a hardened carapace. Long, thin arms hang close to its body, the right one occasionally scraping something along the stone floor, producing that steady, leathery rasp. Its head is low and slightly forward, but you can yet make out its face from this angle. It hasn't turned towards you. I try to nimbly march toward the figure and have my dagger ready to hold to its neck.
Huh?
Close the gap with deliberate, silent steps, dagger in hand. We approach, masked by the steady drip and scrape in the chamber. At about 5 feet away, the figure suddenly stills, its shoulders tightening, the scraping sound stopping mid-motion. You catch a faint, wet inhale. In the next heartbeat, you're close enough to press the blade up beneath where its neck should be. The surface there is warm, with a faint give beneath the edge. Not solid steel. The plates along its back flex lightly, like muscle shifting under armor. From this glow, you hear a low, almost subsonic rumble in its chest. More felt than heard. It's not moving yet, but you have his attention now. What? So it's not a human. I watch the figure closely to see if it's to determine the emotion that is giving right now. You tell whether it's language, subtle reaction suggests to feel truly threatened or it's like the jacket is its neck. From this close, you read Your read will be based on tiny shifts in breathing, tension, and posture, whether it is muscles coiling to fight or stiffening in fear. 9. Inside, +5. You read enough from his posture and breathing to tell it's not acting out of blind panic, but is aware you could kill it in an instant. His breathing is slowed, not sped up, and the tension in his muscle feels more like readiness than fear. You get the sense it's assessing you, weighing whether submission or sudden action gives it better odds rather than being frozen by the threat. It knows it's in danger, but it doesn't feel concerned yet. From what you've seen so far, it's not a human, at least not fully. The hunched body is human-sized, but the segmented plates along its back and shoulders look like they grew there, not like worn armor. The texture is more akin to chitin or hardened carapace than forged metal, and its movements are too fluid for someone weighed down by gear. The long thin arms and faint low rumble in his chest suggest something with animalistic or monstrous traits, rather than a purely humanoid creature. At this distance, without a clearer look at his face or front, you can't yet be sure if it's an aberration, a monstrous humanoid, or something else entirely, only that it's not just men in armor. What are you? The figure's head tilts slightly toward your voice. The low rumble in his chest deepening. When it speaks, the words come slow, as if pulled through a throat not meant for human speech.
I am her eyes in stone, her ears in dark. I watch the path until she calls me back.
Up close, you hear faint clicks between syllables, like chitin scraping against itself. The breath that follows carries the same metallic tang that fills the chamber. Tharra's shadow shifts at the tunnel's edge, bow in hand, tense but silent. Tharra shifts in the narrow tunnel behind you, her bow lowered to avoid scraping the stone. I heard, she says quietly, eyes locked on the figure in front of you. Not human, not anything I've seen up close. She inches forward just enough to peer into the chamber, her voice dropping further. If it's tied to the seer, it will give us much without a fight, or without calling her attention. The figure remains still under your dagger, the slow, deliberate rumble in his chest never breaking. You have one chance to negotiate. Make it quick. The figure's head tilts again, chitin faintly clicking.
One chance. Then hear this. What the? That one? Oh. What the? Oh my god. Oh my god, what a cream. Ouch. Wow. Fuck. I'm doomed. One chance. Then hear this.
His voice rasped low, each word separate by those small clicks.
Let me walk from this door, and I will not call her gaze upon you. Bind me here, strike me down. She will know your face before night.
His breathing deepens, the rumble growing stronger, and that metallic tang sharpens in the air.
I care nothing for the right, only my post. Remove me, and the path is unguarded.
Tharra's eyes stay fixed on you over the point of her arrow. Is bluffing, or is our way into her woods without another fight? Insight check. First solid impression. It's definitely trying to get out of your blaze reach, but the offer itself doesn't feel like pure bluff. The stiffness in his posture, the evenness of his breathing, and the way it frames his threat about the seers feels calculated, not desperate. You get the sense it can live without immediate repercussion for itself, and doing so would genuinely remove his guard from the path. But the risk about calling her gaze might be exaggerated, meant to pressure you into letting it go without harm. In short, it's mixing truth with intimidation to tilt the deal in his favor. Tharra? Wait for unarmed strikes. So you're mounting your distance 6 feet. You're close enough to point by blows, so no disadvantage. First against the creature, you want spending 1 key bonus, free blow, 2 more strike as a bonus action. 3 punch. Whoa! What the fuck? With a roll, no, 16. Overrated, damn it! So I punch him in the floor. Just miss. Snatcher deflects the blow and only hit once. 74. Yes. Nice. 8 bludgeoning damage. The blow slams into the creature's side, forcing a sharp exhale and a brief stagger against the damp stone wall. The plates along its back flex and ripple with the impact, a faint chitinous crack echoing in the closed space. It turns slightly now, enough for you to glimpse a pale, angular face beneath the armor-like growth. eyes black and glossy, fixed on you with a cold, insectile focus. Tharra's arrow is already knocked and half drawn, ready to follow your attack. The moment you struck, the creature's focus shifted from negation to defense, non-combat, so the cramped cave chamber. This tide giving disadvantage to most ranged attacks from inside unless the shooter is right at the threshold. Initiative. The creature into initiative. Tharra and the creature. Roll for initiative! Woo! So one key point depleted. No surgery, just casual punching. You got to spend your bonus action this round with the unarmed shooter, so that's left you to this movement. You're already in melee, so unless you want to reposition or disengage, you'll hold where you are. Tharra's up next. Let's go, Tharra! Tharra quickly slings her bow, draws the short sword at her hip. The cramped tunnel makes archery too risky. With a swift step forward, she slashes toward the creature's side. Solid hit. 6 slashing damage. The blade cuts across one of the chitin plates, chipping a shot away and drawing a hiss from the creature. It twists toward her, black eyes flashing in the dim light, readying to strike back. It's now the creature's turn, and you're the close-up target. The creature lunges, twisting with surprising speed in the cramped chamber. One of its long, thin arms whips up towards your chest. The chitin-plated elbow aiming to drive into you. Whoa! Bludgeoning damage. Elbow. Before you can fully recover, it brings the other arm around in a low, sweeping rake of its claws. Another hit. The first blow knocks the air from your lungs, and the follow-up cuts across your ribs. The warmth of the blood mixing with the metallic tang in the air. It hisses low, plates along its back rippling as it sets its weight for the next exchange. Let's beat the shit out of this thing. Furious. I'm furious. It's better. 13, 18, another crit. Crit. 12, 13, 12, 18. Yeah. Crit miss creatures weak in stomach, right? Another 4. Oh my god, 1. 5. And another one? Motherfucker. 6. 18, that's not bad. 18 damage. Bitch! The strikes lands in rapid succession. Succession against the creature's abdomen. 18 bludgeoning damage. The first blow drives deep into the softer gap between its plates, forcing a sharp hiss. The second and third almost the same spot, cracking one of the chitin segments with a brittle snap. Warm, dark fluid seeps from the fissure, and the creature doubles slightly. The low rumble in its chest breaking into a harsh, uneven rasp. It's still on its feet, but its stand is faltering. You've heard it badly. Tharra's turn is next. Tharra keeps close in the cramped space, short sword darting forward in a precise thrust toward the crack you've just opened in the creature's abdomen. You can choose? Sure. The blade slips into the fissure in its plate, drawing another sharp hiss and forcing the creature back a half step against the chamber wall. Its movements are more sluggish now, fluid seeping steadily from the wound. The creature is still standing, but barely. Now it's its turn. The creature, reeling but not yet beaten, lunges in desperation. It thrusts its long, chitin-plated arm towards your midsection, trying to drive you back. The strike glances off your defenses, missing. Snarling in frustration, it pivots toward Tharra with its open arm, clawed fingers breaking sideways. Tharra grits her teeth as the claw catches her shoulder, tearing through leather. She keeps her footing, blade still poised, her eyes locked on the creature's faltering stance. You're the top of the next round. 2 key points. I aim for the creature's gap. Aim for the creature's chest now. And I drive a drilling punch into the chest. 2 drilling punches. The span glances off the chitin plate. The second finds a gap in his armor. A threat says my finish it. Oh, what do you mean? Responses. Fist drives into the man of gravity, bludgeoned him. There's a sharp, splintering crack as the chitin plates give way under the force. Wet gusty hiss, the creature spasmed once. The impact jolting through its frame. The rumble in its chest cuts off abruptly, replaced by a wet, rattling exhale. Its legs buckle and it collapses against the damp stone floor. twitching once before going still. The metallic tang in the air begins to fade slightly, replaced by the earthy smell of wet rock. Behind you, Tharra exhales slowly, her short sword lowering. That was no ordinary sentry.